welcome to Dark Native Games and the final video of the Computer Build series for Project Home. This is the CPU and GPU test, which are pretty simple to do. They're not very difficult to do. So this will be a real quick and simple video. So if you want to stress test your computer, specifically your GPU or your CPU, these are the programs that I use. They are, I believe, free. You can download them and get like their basic versions free, and they're more than enough needed to stress test your computer. I would recommend when you stress test at a minimum of 30 minutes. That's just to work it under load, especially if you're using an AIO or some sort of water cooling element to cool your computer, because it's going to take a lot longer to get stuff hot to test how well it does under stress than if you just use a fan. So to do the CPU tests, I use a program called Cinebench, which is this right here, Cinebench R23. You can download it, you can Google it, find it online, and use that. I'm going to run a test for multi-core and for 30 minutes to test stability on the system. To test this, you pretty much do as I said. You pick multi-core. You want to start a multi-core test, set it for 30 minutes to test stability, and you just start. As it runs, you'll see it's going to render an image on the screen over and over, and you just let that sit for 30 minutes. So I will see you guys in 30 minutes. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes since the start of the CPU bench test. The brown color is the metrics standard for what's in my system, which is a 3.6 gigahertz 8-core i7 11700K. So the brown is what the baseline should be, and the orange is what the actual test finished. So I did just slightly better than what's expected for the GPU, which is perfectly fine. Which means it's running adequately. It ran for 30 minutes, and it finished rendering the photo repeatedly. It did a total of, I believe, 30 passes. So 30 minutes, there you go. You have your test and your scoring, and you usually want to be either right above or right below. Well, you always want to be right above, but right above, right below what the standard is perfectly fine. So next we'll do the tests for the GPU, which will be the Heaven benchmark. So we will start this. We run it. You can change the settings. So I'll run English. My settings are DirectX for the API. I do high for quality and extreme for tessellation. I leave everything else alone. Pretty much whatever what you call the stock settings for the GPU is kind of what I want to test, because mostly what I'm going to be running my computer on is whatever it came out of the box with. So I'm going to change the resolution to what my actual resolution on my screen is, which is 2560 by 1440. And then I'm just going to run it. It's going to load the benchmark, and it's going to run the test. And just as I did with the CPU test, I'm going to let this run for about 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I'll see what the temps are for when it started. Right now it shows, it's really small, you probably can't see it in the corner. It says the temps is at 63 degrees Celsius, which is a little warm, but I mean the computer's been on most of this morning. And we'll see how far from 63 we get in about 30 minutes. So I'll be back in 30 minutes to give you the results of that test. Okay, so it's been about 35 minutes since the test for the GPU has been running. And as you see with the benchmarks, I ran a benchmark at the beginning when I first started, and then I ran a second benchmark at the end to get an idea of the average stats that the test came up with. So you probably can't see it again because it's real fine print in the top right. But we started at a temp of about 62, 63 when this test started. We're now 35 minutes in, and it is 66, 67. So 4, maybe 5 degree change over a 30-minute period. If we really want to test it, we could let this run for like 3 or 4 hours to see if we can really get the temps to go up under load. But for my purposes with this computer, 30 minutes is more than enough time to do a general stress test to see how well it'll run. It ran under the highest settings for ultra for the quality, and then for tessellation we ran extreme. So I ran it at the highest setting possible for this test, and my average frames per second were 86. So pretty good. Max was 167, lowest was 39. So that's how you would stress test both your CPU and your GPU. 30 minutes each, doesn't take long. Let the computer run, let it do its thing, and there you have it. So this is the final setup and build for Project Home. This is the results of the stress test. So there's really nothing else much left. There you go. You have your computer built. You have your tests done, and you should be enjoying your computer, whatever it is that you build. And I hope whatever you build, whatever you find, whatever parts you use, you enjoy putting together. And I hope you enjoy joining me on this adventure. And tune in for the next big build. You're going to want to see the next build. The next build is going to be very unique. So until next time, we'll see you in the next video.